Hey everyone, this is Nick from the Botch Pit. Today, we're going to be talking about World of Darkness Skinchangers, a source book for the Chronicles of Darkness. However, before discussing the book, I'd like to examine their inspiration, the Navajo legend of the Skinwalker. The Navajo Native Americans are the largest federally recognized Native American tribes, the Navajo Nation and the Colorado River Indian tribes, in the United States. Their reservation is spread throughout the four corners of Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado. This specific legend, however, also extends to the Pueblo people, Apache, Hopi, Ute, and other groups that all have their own versions of the Skinwalker. In Navajo culture, a Skinwalker is a type of harmful witch who has the ability to turn into, possess, or disguise themselves as animals. In the Navajo language, the term for Skinwalker is Yi Nadlushi, which translates as, by means of it, it goes on all fours. The legend of the Skinwalker is not well understood outside Navajo culture due to reluctance to discuss the subject with outsiders, non-Navajo, or even among other Navajo they do not trust. Just discussing the Skinwalker is a bad omen, and the Navajo are frightened of supernatural repercussions of this if there is too much of it. Knowledge of this, and consequently its powers, are passed down from the elders through generations. It is also reported that the Navajo rarely venture out at night alone due primarily to this creature. Community healers and cultural workers are known as medicine men and women, and use their spiritual power to heal members of the community. As such, traditional healers learn about both good and evil magic. The Navajo believe there are places where the powers of both good and evil are present and that these powers can be harnessed for either. Most can handle the responsibility of this, but some become corrupted and choose to be witches. This means that these witches evolved from living their lives as respected healers or spiritual guides, and later chose to use their powers for evil. They also represent the antithesis of Navajo cultural values. They practice Navajo witchcraft, which seeks to direct the spiritual force to cause harm and misfortune. This type of witchcraft, the witchery way, uses human corpses in various ways, such as tools from bones and concoctions used to curse, harm, or kill intended victims. This is one of several varieties of Navajo witch, specifically a type of Anaikni, and is considered the most volatile and dangerous. Witches are seen as evil, performing twisted ceremonies and manipulating magic in a perversion of good works that the medicine men traditionally perform. They walk freely among the tribe during the day, and secretly transform under the cover of night. To become a Skinwalker, a person must be initialized by a secret society which requires the most evilest of deeds, the killing of a close family member, most often a sibling, which some say they often cannibalize, losing any humanity left in them. The individual then acquires supernatural powers, which gives them the ability to shapeshift into any animal. Take note that this creature is still a normal person. The society of these witches gather in dark caves or secluded places to initiate new members, plot activities, harm people from a distance with black magic, and perform dark ceremonial rites. The leader of the Skinwalkers is usually a very powerful and long-lived Skinwalker. These ceremonies are similar to other tribal affairs, however, they have become corrupted with dark connotations. They are also said to engage in necrophilia, cannibalism, incest, and grave robberies, and they are often said to be exclusively in animal form during these events as well. Animals associated with witchcraft usually include those that also include death and bad omens. Coyotes, wolves, foxes, cougars, snakes, dogs, bears, but also any animal they may want. They wear the skins of the animals they transform into, hence their names, and can mimic any human or animal vocalizations. Sometimes they wear animal skulls or antlers atop their heads, which brings them even greater power. They can also switch animals they want to turn into based on a given task, and aren't confined to just a single animal, including speed, strength, endurance, etc. Also because of this, the Navajo consider it taboo for its members to wear the pelt of any predatory animal. However, sheepskin, leather, and buckskin are acceptable. It is also stated that they can possess living animals or people and walk around in their bodies by locking eyes with them, making them do and say things they wouldn't do otherwise. They'll steal your skin, they'll transform into any kind of animal, even you. Skinwalkers can run for greater distances than normal people, even up to 200 miles at a time, They can also scale large cliffs incredibly quickly as well. Stay away from graveyards, as they are likely to hang out there to dig up graves quickly. Skinwalkers can take powder from corpses and then use the dust as poison on their victims. They are also able to control the creatures of the night, such as wolves and owls, and make them do whatever they want. Some are able to call up the spirits of the dead and reanimate the corpses to attack their enemies as well. Other powers include causing disease and illness, destroying property, and even death. Now for some telltale signs. When in animal form, you can tell a skinwalker from a normal animal of that nature because its eyes glow bright red. When in their human form, their eyes look more animal in nature as well. They make sounds around homes, such as knocking on windows, banging on walls, scraping noises on the roof, peering through windows, and appearing in front of vehicles to cause accidents. However, they will never enter homes unless invited in. As for their drive, they kill out of greed, anger, envy, spite, or revenge. They rob graves for personal wealth and materials for dark magic, and they must continually kill and rely on the lives of their victims to survive. In terms of elimination, it's said that you can kill a skinwalker by calling them by their true pre-skinwalker name. When it comes to Native American legends, I want to make it extremely clear how much I earnestly respect them. Even in this educational capacity, despite what you may consider and debate on the existence of other supernatural or even paranormal activity in the real world, I fully believe that every Native American legend is placed in truth and needs to be regarded as such. It demands respect. There's a ranch in Utah called Skinwalker Ranch because of how many sightings of this creature and other supernatural activity appears here. There have also been reports as close to us in Massachusetts, in Belchertown, and Palmer, where even close family members of mine have reported seeing things such as this. Personally, I do not mess with this type of stuff, and want to again reiterate how respectful I am even in this educational capacity. Now you may be wondering, Nick, I thought this was a broadcast on Skinchangers, not Skinwalkers. The truth of the matter is that in the world of darkness, Skinchangers are, in fact, representations of Skinwalkers. However, to avoid any type of conflict, they don't mention them as such, thus leaving for an incredibly convoluted book that gives a half-thought-out approach on the subject. I want you to relate the two throughout this recording, as it makes much more sense in this regard. Another core element and theme presented in this book is the idea of the unknown, an element presented by minimal information, trusted and distrusted connections, life in darkness, and the idea that facts could change right before your eyes. As for an overview of chapters, Chapter 1, Skin-thieves, discusses skin-changers that sacrifice a portion of their humanity to gain the ability to take animal shape. Chapter 2, Beasts of Shadow, reveals how skin-changers interact with the shadow realm of spirits, highlighted through fanatical cults, gifted the ability of shapeshifting from the deities to reluctant victims whose bodies are possessed against their will. Chapter 3, Shifting Things, gives customization through skin changers in the forms of weird items, supernatural diseases, horrific curses, and science experiments gone horribly wrong. The book also contains one appendix called Animal Lore, which presents a summation of animals around the world, both real and folklore, to give some reference to skin changer abilities. Before I fully begin delving into this book, I wanted to make it extremely transparent that I am going to interpret it from a very high-level overview within the contextual lens of the subject of skinwalkers. The book, as written, is again convoluted on certain subjects to the point of not really making coherent sense. I'm hoping to help shift the perspective for those who have and have not read the book in order to make it not only more appealing, but to inspire both players and storytellers to implement them in their games. Chapter 1. Skin-thieves. Skin-thieves are skin-changers who attain transformation of certain animals by stealing their skins, blood, body parts, etc. in order to gain their transformational power. Once these skins are obtained, they are then transformed through ceremonies into talismans. One creature may give up its bark and its bite with its blood, another its combat prowess in its teeth and claws. The defining characteristic of skinners and thieves is that their power of transformation is not innate and must be stolen. At this time, I would like to note the parallels between this and the Navajo tradition of only wearing certain animal pelts. However, if these individuals were to have their skins either stolen from them or over time they decay and break, they would indeed lose all their powers until they recovered or replaced them. Depending on the type of animal, however, this can be an incredibly difficult task due to availability. When in animal form, A skin thief acquires all that creature's physical attributes, but keeps all their own social and mental attributes, although social may not come into play in this case. Every skin changer has a totem animal, one of which they associate with by their own human nature. For example, a nocturnal person who looks at other people as smaller and as prey while desiring wisdom may relate to an owl. However, unlike the totem merit in Werewolf the Forsaken, they have no agreement with that totem animal. In fact, if this totem was to get in touch with the skin changer, the skin changer shouldn't just feel honored, but also incredibly worried. One more thing. Talismans are what give skin changers their powers. If it is stolen or lost, the skin changer can't change shape, and the cost of creating a new one is significantly steep. The talismans are entirely personal in nature, and even if another skin changer were to steal it to use it, they wouldn't be able to, even if they both had the same totem animal. Talismans are stolen in order to rob the skin thief of their changing power, as well as for the connection that they hold to the thief, as shamans know how to turn this power against their owner. Although incredibly resilient and can stand the physical test of time, talismans over time usually lose the potency of their magic. Being crystal clear in terminology, a skin that has been specially treated in a ritual then can become a talisman, and that's what we're kind of talking about right now. Skin thieves can replace those talismans whose strength is flagging and scatter to the winds any power left in these talismans. Although it doesn't completely sever the connection between the two, the talisman and the skin thief, completely. Even rarer are those talismans that do not need replacing, and it's up to you and your storyteller if you'd like to proceed in that regard. The penalty for lost talismans is extreme, as it is more than just a mere inconvenience. Someone else is holding a piece of the skin changer's true soul in their hands. To replace it, they have to seek out the same animal, hunt it, and at the height of the ritual, spend a dot of willpower to seal part of their soul into the talisman. This is an incredible expenditure, as it costs the skin thief 8 points of experience to gain back just 1 point of willpower. Essence is required for this ritual as well, and unlike werewolves, skin changers can only really gain essence by killing their totem creature, resulting in a morality 4 sin. Before continuing on to the next chapter, I want to make a few notes on how to build a skin thief. This broadcast is a combination of a few different books and subject matters to give an overall better idea on how to go about framing these types of characters. Particularly for character creation, a source that I highly recommend getting is a PDF called Borrowed Power by Chris Falco, located on the Storyteller's Vault, that provides an outline of channelers, sanguimancers, and of course, skin thieves. This entire first chapter is distilled into a proper lesser template, or micro template for my Hurt Locker lovers, to use for Chronicles of Darkness. In this, he talks about skin changers as they appeared in this book, as well as their appearance in Dark Eras, but frames it contextually really well. By default, skin thieves are only able to change into one type of creature, but this edition adds the multi-form merit that provides them with further options and makes them closer to Navajo legend. If you're looking for a player synopsis of skin thieves to use around your gaming table, this PDF is for you. I'll link it in the description as well. Chapter 2, Beasts of Shadow. This next chapter was originally created to help build upon the rules for the spirit world and its denizens in Werewolf the Forsaken and Mage the Awakening, so players coming from those game lines would especially like to pay attention to this. Claiming a human host is easily one of the most monstrous acts a spirit can take, but what happens when this, the claimed, is more than it appears to be? This chapter takes a deeper look at the claimed and the spirits that claim them through a number of real-world myths and legends, expanding from Native American to Native Hawaiians in North America and a multitude of other countries around the world. Hero of Men. It's actually Maui, shapeshifter, demigod of the wind and sea, hero of men. I interrupted. From the top, hero of men. Go. This is all in an attempt to tie these legends back into the world of darkness and address the question as to why Spirit would want to make monsters even more monstrous than they were before. The claim presented in this chapter are given with a synthesis trait which is used to reflect the degree to which a spirit has managed to successfully claim a host. This trait is about equivalent to the possessing spirit's rank, and synthesis functions as the claim's power stat, much like blood potency, primal urge, or gnosis does. Specifically, synthesis adds to rolls made to resist another supernatural entity's powers in all cases where a werewolf would add primal urge or a mage were to add gnosis. This chapter in totality is a storyteller's building chapter. It gives tons of examples of the claim presented as ravens with the black flock, foxes with kitsune and siten uzu, leopards, panthers, and large cats with a kanema, hyenas with the boda, and snakes with serpent guardians. I would like to note the connection to the Navajo skinwalkers as well in terms of animal selection, as well as the ability to creatively take over one's body. Chapter 3, shifting things. The final chapter, Shifting Things, is about storyteller-unique shapeshifters, those brought into the world of darkness as a result of completely unusual situations and circumstances. Given this personalization allows storytellers to breathe unique life into their worlds. However, it also stresses the restrictions for doing so. The first is scarcity. Although the concepts of unique skin changes is very drawing, it says to use them conservatively. However, again, this is up completely to the storyteller. The rationale behind this is that regular skin changers are incredibly hard to find. Finding unique ones ought to be harder than that. The second is to base it somewhere in reality by grounding these creatures through mythological or even scientific circumstances of experiments gone wrong. It needs to feel believable to resonate with your players. This being said, if your storyteller has a mad doctor create a machine known as a gene slammer, which is capable of changing aquatic animals into anthropomorphic hybrids by combining human DNA with them, just roll with it. You hear this, Chris? Some people will appreciate my Street Shark Chronicles of Darkness crossover. I've been pushing this agenda for months. Although I digress, this again is another storytelling chapter aimed to help shift your focus on what can and cannot be done with Skinchangers. Appendix, Animal Lore. This appendix presents a summation of animals around the world, both real and from folklore, to give some reference to Skinchanger abilities. If this seems beneficial to you, I also highly recommend, in addition to this, although it's for the older classic World of Darkness, I highly recommend taking a look at Changing Breeds for Werewolf the Apocalypse V20. Again, because you are not a werewolf, you cannot do everything in that book with a skin changer, but it does enhance the scope of your knowledge on what a werewolf or shapeshifter could be. For the Botch Pit, we haven't played a strictly werewolf game yet, or even included skin changes to our knowledge in some regard, so I was pretty clueless on what the term werewolf does and does not encompass, and that book changed my perspective on what can be done. A giant crocodile who still thinks he's a king? Some Sarah Kerrigan-esque goth chick who's also secretly a spider? Yeah, things get pretty great pretty fast. I would use this as somewhat of an idea manual, but not strictly for skin changers themselves. In conclusion, I really enjoy skin changers pending the right contextual frames are put in place. Again, for those wanting to dip their feet into it, the first place to start for players is Chris Falco's Borrowed Power PDF. And from there, if this is a storytelling concept that seriously interests you, move on to the full Skin Changers book. This has been Nick from the Botch Pit. Thank you.